defence ministers slashed the civil servants' spending power by 97%. I'm going to read into this exclusive from iNews, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from iNews with the headline of Defence Ministers slash the civil servant spending power by 97%. Ministers must now approve all spending by senior officials above 50,000, a drastic cut from the previous £2 million limit. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So it looks, on the surface, it looks like that civil servants may have been doing stuff that maybe they should have waited to get more approvals of it. That's what it can look like on the surface. This obviously this decision by them to literally take all the power away from civil servants when it comes to making some certain decisions. The problem was this is going to leave a headache for the ministers themselves, because they will need to sign off so much more than they used to. They will get countless emails, countless phone calls saying, I need you to approve this, I need you to approve this, I need you to approve this, because they are changing this. Now, this could be seen as a good thing in terms of some people will argue, well, this is good because it means that Labour are taking more control of the spending powers, and that civil servants shouldn't be doing things that they should not. They shouldn't be doing things without the consent of ministers. The thing is that the ministers can't see absolutely everything that is happening within. They can't see absolutely every single tiny little minor detail. It's just not physically possible. It's like expecting the Home Secretary to look and see every single tiny little detail in every single department. They will see about 90% of it, but they're not going to, of all things, I would say, allegedly. I'm just speculating on numbers, but they're not going to see everything. It's like if you work in a, I'll give you another example. It's like you work in a, like, say for instance, you work in Tesco's, for example. You're not going to know every single little detail in that supermarket. You're not going to know exactly where every single item is if a customer comes up to you asking where a certain item is. You're just not, because you're in such a massive store with so many millions of products. You're just not going to remember it all. And this is I'm using that analogy because obviously there is so many things that are running through that defensive through this department and among many other departments. And yes, at the end of the day, the ministers themselves are the ones who make the final calls on all these things. But they're not going to know everything. And I guess a question that I would really like to put you guys in the comments is this a good idea? Is this a good idea that defence ministers should stop civil servants their spending powers altogether here? Because if they do, and that's what the exclusive here is revealing, then it means everything has to be at a halt. If the minister's not there to sign things off, things in the department could get stalled, and it could lead to many problems. So I think that's a question I think is worth asking. So let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So defence ministers are set to drastically clamp down on the spending powers of senior civil servants in the department, the eye has learned. In what is the first sign of the government's crackdown on consultancy bills, officials who were previously allowed to authorise spending of up to £2 million without giving approval from ministers will now have to get a sign-off for any contracts more than £50,000, which represent a 97% cut. So civil servants in the department used to spend up to £2 million without approval from ministers here. Now, obviously, I can see a lot of people in the comments will no doubt say, well, this is a good thing because civil servants have too much power. And this obviously, for those who obviously believe that we shouldn't have civil servants at all, I disagree. I think civil servants are important. Do I think there needs to be some changes within civil servants within government departments? Absolutely. I do think there needs to be some changes to them. Obviously the last 14 years of Conservatives, especially with some of the bullying allegations and the way that they were being treated, being told to break the law and whatnot, obviously you have to take that into account the history behind of the civil services in there. But are they spending that £2 million, that up to that £2 million beforehand? Were they spending it appropriately? Were they using it for good means? Those are more questions that we need that we don't have answers to. So industry sources fear that this will lead to big delays in signing important contracts and lead to a huge increase in bureaucracy within the Ministry of Defence as ministers become deluged with requests for spending approvals. One source said it risks grinding the department to a halt. Now, I don't know about if it would grind the whole department to a halt, but it does mean that, yeah, like this is what it means. Yeah, a lot of ministers are just going to have to sign off a ton of things now. They need approval from ministers, from government saying, yep, this is fine. Yes, this is fine. No, this is not fine. Yeah. And I actually, maybe it is a good thing, but I'll let you guys decide in the comments. The type of decision affected by this could range from high-level consultancy contracts, looking at strategic military planning and new IT to recruitment policy, and the cleaning of managing of the MOD facility, including the barracks. Another source told the Eye that the changes were extreme. They said the bar of approvals will become incredibly low and we will create a bureaucratic nightmare for ministers in the future. Jane Ruckless from the FDA, a trade union for senior civil servants, said, "We continue to look for reassurances from the ministry that the government's focus on new spend does not draw attention away from areas that remain under pressure from the continuing threat of headcount reductions. We cannot afford the lowered threshold for ministerial approvals to stand in the way of organisational needs and the delivery of strategic aims." Now, a source close to the Defence Secretary had told the Eye that the Conservatives left a historic budget black hole, difficult decisions ducked, unfounded promises that could not be kept, and billions of taxpayer money wasted. It is only right that we take a more rigorous approach. Yeah, that's the line of it's all the Tories. The Tories left black hole, and that we know they were going to put that comments really in there. Last week, the Eye revealed that contractors have been given 36 hours to come up with high-level headlines, ideas for cuts, and this new clampdown on spending by senior officials. It's part of a department urging attempts to slash spending ahead of the cuts in the autumn statement. The Chancellor Rachel Reeves has been outspoken on her views to cut consultancy spending, pledging to rein them in. Ms Reeves said, "I get submissions of departments looking at a planning application or an investment in the economy. It says so-and-so consultancy looking at this, and then I ask for some more details. It's hundreds of thousands of pounds." Now the civil servants recruits every year. Some of the top graduates bring in fantastic, I can't say that word. And yet it seems to go to consultancies to do big pieces of work. I just don't think it's justified that taxpayer money is used in this way. Labour has pledged to half consultancy spend during the general election campaign, with Reeves saying the request would be denied unless they could be proved to offer value for money. Last week, defence suppliers were told they need to make material in year savings through the cancellations or deferral of lower priority activity, or present plans for efficiency savings as quickly as possible. The letter seen by the Eye said ministers were prepared to make hard choices, but the government would keep its target of spending 2.5% of GDP on defence in future years. The Admiral Lord West, the former Chief of Naval Staff, told the Eye issues like infrastructure, spares and maintenance and training and recruitment of manpower will need to be cut. Spending cuts are thought to be ongoing all over Whitehall in preparation for the Rachel Reeves autumn statement in October. Frontline public services are to be protected, but other departments, including the Department of Transport, have begun looking for potential cuts. Nick Davis, the Programme Director for the Institute for Government think tank, told the Eye this week that the MOD would not be the only department to take on heavy cuts. Mr Davis said the Chancellor's recent public spending audit announced pressures on 22 billion, but cuts of only 5.5 billion, and indicated that further savings would be announced in the autumn budget. Even making these initial cuts will be hard, and all departments will be assessing where in-year savings can be made, including from suppliers. However, the pressure from April 2025 onwards will be even greater and require making difficult trade-offs on borrowing, taxation and spending. A Ministry of Defence spokesperson has said the government is getting a grip of public finances, and as the Chancellor said, the government has inherited public finances which are much worse than anticipated. This government will secure Britain's defence for the future by tackling waste and increase defence spending 2.5% of GDP as soon as possible. This story has been updated, so it's entirely possible that this story may update again by the time you see this, guys. But that is what they're looking to obviously do. The cut take more control away from civil servants and put it into ministers' hands. But it also means that ministers now need to be more on the ball, and more on the ball, especially in this department, because obviously if things don't get signed off, things will sit there. I can understand why you don't want to give too much control to civil servants, but at the same time, a part of me is like business still needs to keep going, and you don't want to grind things to a halt. but they're also changing how things are being run in the defence and in the MOD. So it'll be interesting to see how the spending goes. But yeah, it is essentially cuts, because that's what the Chancellor had said. Chancellor said you've got to find cuts somewhere, and this looks like what they're going to do. But are civil servants being overstretched, and are civil servants being treated differently here? I think those are questions that need to be answered as well. But what do you guys honestly think? Do you think this makes total sense that civil servants lose their spending powers by 97%? Do you think it's justified? Do you think that the system that they had before was working, and they may be tweaking the system so that ministers have more control than before when it comes to spending within these departments, less control for civil servants? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button, we greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.